today is Wednesday, October 23rd. And before we begin, the secretary is on a leave of absence, temporary. So I'd like to entertain a motion to have Man Han Chang appointed as interim acting secretary.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Approved. Thank you. The next order of business, I'd like to have the secretary have the roll call.
Private members, Michael Spitzer, Chair.
Present.
Mark Kaplan.
Here.
Bernard Rosen.
On his way.
Okay. Bud Larson.
Present.
Representing Comptroller Stringer, Jacqueline Thompson.
Present.
Representing Mayor Bill de Blasio, Raymond Lee.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. I'd like to now have a motion to approve the minutes of June 26, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Approved. Thank you. The next order of business is somebody was supposed to be here to make a presentation to Bernie, but this is Bernie's last meeting. So it's going to be very awkward because Bernie's not here, the presenter's not here, and I'm just letting everybody know. So at this point in time, I'd like to, rather than keep everybody waiting, and we have a very full agenda and a lot of guests. Thank you, Madam Actuary, for being here. I'd like to have a motion to go into executive session. And we're going into executive session because the presentation of the financial statements of the city to the audit committee is considered confidential at this point in time because they're not published.
I'll
So,
move that one.
thank you. So,
Second.
Camille, we're going into executive session. Okay, thank you. Before we actually go and take a vote on the audited financial statements, I'd like to welcome aboard Elizabeth Guzman, am I pronouncing it correct? Okay, Guzman. She is representing the public advocate.
Public advocate. Yeah.
And also Ken Gardner, who is representing the mayor's office through OMB. So I'd like to welcome you on board. And I'll ask you both initially, how do you vote? No, just joking. So at this point in time, I'd like to have a motion to approve the audited financial statements of the City of New York, which will appear in the Controller's CAFRA. That was discussed and gone over with the auditors in executive session.
I'll make the motion.
So moved.
Thank you. Okay, at this point in time, the audit committee approves the financial statements, and I too would like to thank everybody, Grant Thornton, Mark Spaniff, the actuary's office, the Controller's Bureau of Asset Management, the audit Controller's debt area, for all your cooperation. I know what this exercise is. I've been through it a few times. So I too want to congratulate everybody on a job well done, and also congratulate the Controller's Office on getting the GFOA award for last year. So she's the first deputy.
Okay, is this on? Yes, it is.
At this point in time, I would just like to announce that Bernie Rosen, who was the former chair of this committee and has probably been serving on this committee,
Long time.
as Bernie just said, a long time, probably a lot more than 20 years. This will be his last meeting. Bernie is retiring from the audit committee after he retired as the assistant deputy director of the Office of Management and Budget for a long time. I myself would like to thank Bernie. Bernie was one of my mentors, even though we worked in 2 different agencies. And the joke I always tell Bernie is after a meeting, Bernie would sit down and say, okay, give me the T accounts. Tell me what really happened.
Thank you.
And at this point, the first deputy controller would like to make a presentation to Bernie.
We're over there.
Hi, my name's Elena Gilligo. I'm the Comptroller's first deputy. On behalf of Comptroller Scott Stringer, who unfortunately was not able to make it, but there's no office in the city that better appreciates what this committee does, and in particular, the years of public service that Bernie Rosen has given the city of New York than the office of the New York City Comptroller. And on his behalf, we wanted to present this commendation to you, and if you'll bear with me, I will read it. For over half a century of outstanding service to the city of New York, for his exceptional leadership as a private member on the New York City Audit Committee, for his devoted work at the New York City Fire Department and the Office of Management and Budget, for his kind heart, wisdom, and years of historical knowledge and fiscal expertise, for his sense of humor and sharp memory, retelling old stories and sharing experiences at audit committee meetings, for his commitment to public service, for gaining the trust, appreciation, and gratitude of all of his colleagues, and for his tremendous contributions to the city of New York. On behalf of Comptroller Stringer, congratulations and thank you so much.
It's been a long time. But I loved public service. The late Mayor Koch always said, there's nothing as interesting as public service. And I was in the private sector for a number of years. And all the criticisms that people make of government, it's worse in the private sector. Believe me, you have duplications and problems and whatnot. So it was a lot of fun. I loved it all the years. It was great, but I'm just not up to it anymore. I just can't do it. The hearing is not so good. The memory is not so good. The only thing I'll say about the audit committee, I remember the initial audit committee, the mayor, because there'd been the fiscal crisis, didn't even have the power to appoint a private member. And then when the city had, I guess, refunded all the federally guaranteed bonds, the audit committee could have gone out of existence. A number of us in the controller's office and in budget went over to Mayor Koch and we said, we want this to continue. He said, fine. And he was very kind. He said there was a private member that the state controller, because we didn't want the state controller on it anymore. In other words, we wanted the current organization. And he was very kind. He says, who was the state controller's representative? He was an accounting professor. He says, well, I'll reappoint him, which was very nice. And, you know, we went from there on in. I think we recognized how important this was. I can recall how difficult the first official statement was that we prepared. The controller said these numbers, we said those numbers. As a very smart budget director, the late Paul Dickstein said there was a fiscal crisis and a reporting crisis. In other words, you didn't have the records. So things are a lot different. You could knock off a financial plan one a week if you want, and to pull an official statement is nothing. And even the audit, which is so voluminous, you're able to do it. So things have really improved. I thank you all for the honor. I've enjoyed the many years, the acquaintances, the people. You're all very dedicated, and thank you all.
as Bernie gets his seat, I'll just remind everybody, there were 2 sets of books the city had. O&B had a set of books, and the controller had the set of books. And every number was looked at differently. And in one of the set of books, it wasn't a double entry set of books, it was single entry. So because of the fiscal crisis, the city has moved leap years ahead of where we were. But with that said, I'd like to move back into executive session, and the audit committee will just be meeting with Jackie, representing the controller's office. But then afterwards, we want to have a separate meeting also with the auditors. So if you could be so kind that, bear with us, it's a juggling act at this point. But thank you, guests, for everybody that's come. Thank you, Cameron, for coming. And congratulations again to one and all. We'll take a 5-minute recess.